Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. If you're looking for undervalued investment opportunities, click subscribe. That's exactly what we're going to go over. I call this the copper technical analysis. I go over a little bit of fundamentals that I grabbed from a presentation. I'm going to go over some of that stuff to get you guys caught up on copper. I did chart some junior copper companies. I don't necessarily have a ton of money in them, but if you guys want to see them, you can see what they look like from a charting perspective. So let's jump in. This is copper. I do like copper. I do think if we're going to have a commodity bull market, which I very highly think we are, and you've seen that in all my other videos in market conditions and all those things, I think copper is going to be a huge benefactor of a declining dollar. Now, I know there's a huge debate over, inflationists versus deflationists. I'm in the inflation camp only because we're in an expansion phase of real estate. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that can debate on demographics and all this stuff on the real estate side. But what's right in front of us right now is a record low inventory, which means we have a supply demand balance gap. We have not enough homes. And that's why prices are skyrocketing, and that's why inventories are low. That's what's right in front of us. I am in the camp that we have favorable demographics, which means we have a larger group of buyers coming. So that's my take on it at the moment. And that's how I view my paradigm, these investments. So let's jump into copper here. This is the global copper mine production. This is kind of what it looks like. We've been kind of flat to down a little bit, and then it's supposed to come up a little bit over the next couple of years. And then have a peak copper production in 2023 where it starts to decline. Now, this is just production. It's not market balance. And I've shown market balance in other clips. Here's the annual copper consumption in EVs and internal combustion engines. Passenger EVs and passenger ICE. So they're expecting internal combustion engines to slowly decline after 2030. And then EVs to ramp up quite substantially to 2040 from 2015. This is the EV sales to increase more than fivefold from 2019 to 2025. Here's the sales here going straight up, and then the year-over-year change is quite rapid, over 20% for all the next years till 2025. Now, EVs need much larger amounts of copper compared to internal combustion engines. Battery electric vehicles require 3.6 times more copper than internal combustion engine vehicles. You can see the copper usage below. A battery electric bus uses a bus load of copper, apparently. Here's the valuations per the resource or per copper. It'd be US per pound. So these are multiples of companies with advanced stage copper periphery projects. So these ones way over here, these guys are really, really cheap. They're all cheap. But there's a bunch over here. My favorite out of the group is probably NGEX. That one is not only cheap, but I think they have a good team, and they're associated with Lundin Mining. So that is one that I do own, is NGEX in copper. Copper Bank's another one. I own Deep South. So here's some charting. I just used Google Finance to do my charts. This is just basic trend lines, big picture views. Here's Glencore. We did hit our head on this downtrend line, this massive one. Is this going to break to the upside? Great question. We do have a low here in 2016. We've got a higher low here. You can even kind of say that this is the low here and take out this COVID event. And it's continuing to move higher into this trend line. So we'll see if it breaks. But usually what happens is they hit their head on this. It kind of pulls back, and you get kind of like a cup and handle pattern that develops. That's very normal. Rio Tinto broke out of its little kind of resistance line here, broke to the upside, and maybe it'll back test before moving higher. This is a massive pattern. So it looks pretty good. Nothing bad to say here. BHP Group, here's another one. You can draw, you know what, I'll draw the line in. I forgot to draw this one. The way I would draw it would be something like this, or, there's this here. This is a reverse head and shoulders there that popped higher. So that's BHP there with the reverse head and shoulders. But overall, if you can draw lines through here, any way you cut it, it's breaking the line. So it is in an uptrend. Tech Resources, this guy, it's right there trying to break out of its downtrend line. I mean, it's right there. We've got low, higher low in here, and it's all coming up right into the line. I tend to believe that it's going to break it. It just needs a little bit of time. Vale already broke its downtrend line, and I think the rest are going to follow. So this is a leader. That one's looking good. Turquoise Hills, it's trying to break out of its downtrend. This guy's got a big, massive base that's occurring. So that one, as long as it breaks, and that's what we're all looking. We're looking for this break here. Taseko Mines broke its downtrend line. So that one broke. I think the other ones are just lagging. And then it looks like we've got Trilogy Metals with this gigantic bowl-shaped pattern with a handle maybe. It's a big one, or it's going to do another cup and handle here. Here's Copper Bank, just to show you what a junior looks like. Again, this looks like a cup and handle that's trying to form here. And then we have NGX Materials. This guy's been pretty stable, moving on up. And then Nova Royalty, which is a royalty company on copper and nickel. Of all of these companies, of all of them, I still prefer the royalty companies, especially Nova. I know they don't have any producing royalties, but that's when you buy it. You buy it when it's cheap. And I think this could be a good 20, 30-year hold. I mean, royalty companies do very well even in sideways markets, because as long as the producer or miner continues to mine at flat volumes and the price stays relatively the same, they're just going to keep making money. And if they add royalties to the company, they're growing. And that's what they're doing. They're adding value to the company. They're adding more royalties to it. And I don't know, the royalty business, it's got me. It's got me sold. There's very low risk. Now, this is what gets me a little concerned about some of the mining companies. They are mining they're mining the highest ore grades that they have. Ore grades are declining in copper and anything. In any mineral it is, ore grades are declining, which means that their input costs continue to go up, and the cost curves most likely will remain flat or go higher as ore grades continue to decline, and they're going to have to add projects with lower and lower ore grades that are in harder to get areas. A royalty company doesn't care about ore grades, doesn't care about input costs, doesn't care about oil prices, doesn't care about anything. All it cares about is volume and price. Now, if everything's getting harder to mine, what does that do to price? It goes up. Your cost curves all go up. So if you have an increasing cost curve environment over the rest of our life, and you've got increasing prices because of demand, and if the demand is out there in the quantities that some of these guys are talking about, there's no way supply is going to meet it. I don't see it. So there's probably going to be substitution. There's probably not going to be electric vehicles. All these electric vehicles won't be built. And it'll probably be delaying this transition to a, quote, cleaner, greener world. So oil would be another good bet too. I'm heavily in oil. But when you look at the metals, the royalty business, if cost curves go up, if ore grades go down, and your input costs all go up, I mean, that's just screaming buy a royalty. That's what I see. Now, there's also another royalty, EMX, which is a very wide array. It's got base metals, and it's got gold and silver. So those are also, that'd be another one to look into. EMX, I know their chart looks decent. So that's where I kind of go to. I go to the royalty companies, because if we go into an environment and these guys have all these new mines, once they all start kicking online and producing from them, and they're major. Nova's going after the big boys, and that's what I like about it. They're thinking big. They're thinking big, and trying to get whatever they can on the big deposits out there and new projects with big mining companies that are running it that are well capitalized. So I think they'll do pretty well. It's one of my favorite royalties. And hopefully they do well. I mean, I keep piling into it. I do think it's at a pretty low price. So, I mean, I've been adding a little bit, just slowly leaking money in whenever I get it. So if you guys like this content, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate you guys leaving comments and questions, and I'll answer those maybe another video or two. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.